Okay. Hi everyone, hope you are good. Welcome back to our channel. My name is Harps. I'm here from Harper and Keble Practitioners in Cheltenham. This isn't my practice, I'm just at home because obviously we're in lockdown at the moment. I'm here today talking with a very awesome and cool woman who has more hours in the day than is physically possible. I don't know how she finds this time, I really don't, okay? She's seriously amazing. I'm talking today to Lottie Keble Wyatt, who is the founder, co-founder of Cheltenham Wellbeing Festival. So the Wellbeing Festival, something that me and her talked about quite a lot around this time last year, and she had an awesome festival which was done in September last year, and because she is very fast-paced and able to pivot, which is like the new word of lockdown, pivoting your business, she was able to pivot her business, and she held a virtual wellbeing festival across the whole of Cheltenham about 3 weeks ago, and it was a huge success. So I'm very lucky to have Lottie here today, because me and her pinning our diaries down has not been easy. Okay, it's been interesting to pin ourselves down at the right time in the right place. Universe today is lined up. I'm very grateful for that. As you know, Harper and Keble Practitioners is all about helping people feel great about themselves, giving them the confidence to conquer their world. I'm here talking today to Lottie about how she helps people conquer their world in well-being and in general feeling good and fitness at the same time as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to say, hey, hi Lottie, how's it going?
That was such a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yes, we've been very busy. We have not been resting on our laurels at all during lockdown. We could have just had a breather and chilled out, but that's just not Alex and I. That's just not our way. And also because we felt, you know, well-being is the most needed thing right now than ever before. The focus on our health is just absolutely everything. And I feel like when you put a spotlight on it, when you put your health under a microscope, if you say you're a well-being festival, if you say that you truly want well-being to be universal, then you stand up and you do something. So we launched the Cheltenham Wellbeing Festival. We relaunched as Live Life Well. We did a Live Life Well virtual weekender. The reason we called it Live Life Well and moved a little bit away from Cheltenham Wellbeing Festival is because we also felt that in the virtual space, you can reach everybody. And it was kind of our duty to go national. So we went national. We had a huge amount of support. All of our profits went towards the COVID-19 national appeal. All of our speakers gave their time for free. Wow. We gave out free tickets to NHS, key workers, vulnerable people. It was just, we were just overwhelmed with the response. And it was just a really incredibly humbling experience to have everybody connect because they genuinely cared about supporting people's well-being.
That sounds pretty awesome. I've got to take a step back though, because I need to hear a little bit more about what the well-being stuff has meant to you. So what have you seen in the last 5 years that's been different about well-being that you didn't see before that? What's changed in the last 5 years where suddenly well-being is a really cool thing to be thinking about and discussing? What have you seen that's different in terms of what you do in your background? Your background is in fitness. Tell us a bit more about your background as well, and then how you found well-being has suddenly become the new thing to do.
Absolutely. So I'm in the fitness industry, which is never been more popular. Everybody wants to get fit, athleisure. Like I'm wearing athleisure now. I live in it. We've got clothes now which just kind of like just become us as just fitness, as just staying active. And well-being, I think the ultimate thing that's changed is it's not considered woo-woo, it's considered accessible. And when we did the Wellbeing Festival, we also wanted to remove, which I don't know if you agree, I think sometimes well-being can be seen as quite elitist, that
yep,
it's
completely agree.
Yep. Yeah, that it's for those who are able to afford it.
Yeah.
And it's those spa retreats, it's those Oming yoga silent workshops. No. Well-being should be for everybody. And that has been my goal since day dot. I have a little girl. She was IVF. I never thought I'd be able to have her. So when she came in the world, she was even more precious. I mean, every child is. But for me, I wanted it so that she would never have to aspire to get some well-being in her life. It's there, it's physically present, it's nourishing and nurturing our mental health, and it's just that support mechanism that should be as easy to access as it is to breathe. And that's a bold claim.
That's a really bold claim. What's been different about well-being in the UK compared to the US? Because I do see a lot of trends that are very different. I do think that the UK often falls behind the US in terms of well-being and that kind of self-care, that it's not selfish. It is selfish to be self-care, but it's not a bad thing anymore. It's not a bad thing to be selfish like it used to be when we were growing up, for example. Being selfish wasn't an encouraged trait because you put the people first before you put yourself first. But then you're always at the bottom of the ladder thinking about yourself. What do you think has been different about that in terms of the UK catching up with the US in well-being?
As a nation, we have this innate thing in us that means we can't say we're allowed to care for ourselves.
Yeah.
And do you know what I have learned? I honestly, lockdown has been so fundamental to my lifestyle because it's made me stop and pause. And as you said in your introduction, I literally fit 36 hours into a 24-hour day. And I think our US counterparts, they do exactly the same thing, but they also think, stop, let's take a moment. And they see it as much more acceptable as a society than we do to say, actually, I need to take care of me. I've actually just had a really interesting conversation with a lady, Susan Alderson, who set up something called Parenting Mental Health, and says, look, as parents, we actually need to look after ourselves before we then can do stuff for our children.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I was like, huh? Like, we're at the bottom of the pile. And it's saying, you as Harper, me as Lottie, I need that space. I need that time to look after myself. So I think we're always going to be a little bit more behind because it is our nature to be just that
island mentality. I think a little bit as well, because we're an island. We don't have those. Literally, we're an island. We don't have that accessibility for people coming in and sharing the ideas like you do maybe on the continent, for example, where things are much more free flowing. I know that in Denmark, for example, in Denmark, it's quite accepted that if you are working in an office environment, for example, you would put into your diary for your colleagues to see 4 p.m. Pilates class. And it's not a secret, it's fully accepted, or you leave work at 4 o'clock to pick up your kids. It's not like there's any shame and something like that. People fully accept that you work from 8 till 3 or 8 till 4, and you fit well-being into your life and you fit in your activities or whatever you want to do, and it's an accepted part of your lifestyle. Whereas I think in the UK, it's much more, okay, got to fit it in between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, for example, because it's not part of our work-life balance to have well-being or fitness built into our life like that, if that makes sense. And I thought that really interesting seeing how Denmark do it compared to how we do it, for example.
Really interesting you say that, because when we did the virtual wellbeing festival, we just decided the Live Life Well Weekender would just take place over 3 days, because even though we were in lockdown, we still felt people would not want to commit that amount of time to themselves.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Is that because they have other commitments, because they aren't used to saying no to other things, or when you're in a house full of teenagers or parents or kids, it's hard to put yourself away even more in lockdown in theory, because people are always in your face. You can't.
But you know what, I think well-being, and this is, I'll move on to the Well book and the edit and the other things we're up to, but we've also really found that, we can't just shove well-being down people's throat and say, you've got a week, go. Because like you said, that you've got kids running around the house, there's school, there's work-life commitments. Well-being should be in your pocket. And that's a really key phrase of ours that we're going to use for a video on demand channel that we're creating. It's well-being in your pocket, and you can get it out the pocket when you need it. It's accessible for you. Well-being should be something that when you are ready, when you have that time to do it, it's there.
Okay.
And I think that's what we found. We found, 7 days a week, too much. A few hours when you're in that right headspace. And again, it is about that head and mindset as well, which you must have when people come to your shop and they want to buy a pair of glasses. Instantly, if they're not in the right mindset, if they're not in the right frame of mind, they're not feeling good about themselves, or they've had a really rubbish day at work, they're going to struggle to find a pair of frames that suits them. And I think that's the same with absolutely everything. It has to be when people are right and when people are ready.